TJ the Wheel Deal coming at you live. It is Wednesday. We're talking October the 30th, 11:31 a.m. Central Time, Texas time. Super informal. Eating some spaghetti from the restaurant here at the golf course. They gave me a little garlic bread too. Got a big red soda. We're just gonna talk, shoot the shit, a little live Q&A, talk about the portfolio a little bit, what I'm expecting with RIOT earnings today, what I've thought about earnings so far, and mostly it's about you guys. What questions do you guys have that you guys would like me to answer? A. B, we're going to also talk about the format for the Wheeler seminar, hopefully this Saturday. If I'm happy with the slides and I wrap my mind around, I feel like I can deliver quality information in these 2 to 3 hours that I've earmarked for it. I'm going to try to knock it out this Saturday so that whether you've been in this game for 5 years or whether you've been in this game for 5 minutes, 5 days, there's something for everybody. There's something for everybody. And I'm going to really focus on the psychological elements of selling options, because the most important game that you're playing is always going to be in between your ears. So anyway, I'm going to take my first bite of lunch and first meal of the day. Skip breakfast because the workout was tough and I didn't want to eat. That's good. My wife's using this some wheat pasta or whatever. It's not as good as the stuff that's super unhealthy, but not bad. Anyway, what's going on? Beneficial. What's going on? Midwest. King of the emojis. What's going on? Gentle. What's going on, Mr. G? What's going on, Christopher? We'll definitely talk about that a little bit. I'm doing well, Hertzy. How are you? Yeah, I'm looking forward to Saturday too. I'm really hoping I could be super focused. I'm going to grab a workout early that morning, get the juices really flowing, and hopefully I can deliver quality information for you guys. What's going on, Will? What's going on, Kelby, Cosmo? Who's the guy you interviewed that was all in on Celsius? I don't remember. What's going on, Kelby? Wow, appreciate you. 7 months. That is 9 months. That is awesome. Life's good. Crazy day. Y'all are welcome. SoFi Bulls, y'all are welcome. We sold 1,000 covered calls between yesterday and today, and that's why it's mooning. And you need stock to wheel, Rocket Lab, and SoFi too high, afraid of the miners to own. What else would decent premiums? We'll talk about it. We'll look here in a second. Tell me about Saturday. We're going to talk about that for sure. Benit. Boy, what's going on, Matt? What's going on? Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link here in case if anybody wants to join in. This is super informal, guys. I don't feel pressure today where I got to play the stream and all this other stuff and follow the little sequence that I follow. I'm just eating lunch with you guys. And we'll talk about the market. And then I'm going to give y'all a little bit of snapshots for Saturday, like what you guys can expect. I feel like I've been building up for this thing for going on 4 years now, 5 years. So I feel like I have enough information in my brain and I know how to disseminate the information to where I feel like it's going to make sense to you guys. And I'm hoping that eventually it makes dollars and cents. I want a lot of people to make money on the channel, man, because that's what it's about at the end of the day. It's what it's about is we're here to make money. So anyway, let's see what's going on here with the portfolio. It's up and to the right today. So there's that. I've trimmed a lot of positions yesterday. I made a bunch of trades yesterday. Why? Because I'm introducing a new $1 million cash grab segment on Wheelers. So I'm going to be asking the panel to help me find the next $1 million cash grab. Put in $1 million of cash secured puts, and we're trying to grab, 25, 30, 35, 40% in, or $40,000 for about a month and see what happens, see what happens. So wanted to make sure there's enough money to do all of that. And it's also just less to monitor. So I'll be but it's going to be mostly positions that are already in the, like stocks that are already in the portfolio. I'm not going to be looking at cash grab outside of that unless there's just something I'm very, very interested in, because if shit goes south, got to be prepared potentially to own $1 million worth of that stock. So, kind of keep that in mind. But I think that segment's going to put us on the map, guys. And it's something that we'll talk about on Wednesdays. And then I'll be monitoring it, for 2 or 3 weeks. And then we'll look at expiring once we're over 50%, depending on whether or not there's less than 50% left on the clock or more. Like, we're just going to talk about a lot of components. So, yeah, well, definitely we can talk about that too. Very, very cool. First thing though, I got to eat. I'm hoping for somebody to click through the stream. Don't be camera shy, man. Help me out today, because it's easier whenever there's more than just me on the stream, because you guys could be talking while I'm eating. So good. Absolutely good. So let's talk about SoFi. Let's start with SoFi. Can I get a bunch of thank yous on there? Can I get a bunch of thank yous? So we got 150,000 shares, 725. Stock collateral is 10,000 shares. So we got 1,000 covered calls here, 1,000 covered calls there. So we got 15,000 covered calls, right? Or 1,500 covered calls. So we got 150,000 shares for sale, but it only says 10,000 there because it takes into account all the leaps. Then we've got $7 leaps, $5 leaps, $10 leaps, $15 leaps, January 2026. And then these are the lottery leaps. Noto gets paid, we get paid. That's this guy right here. So it's going pretty well. This one here, absolutely underwater already. Not that bad, though. It's not that bad. Because we're going to collect this data. We're going to collect the penny every day. So 2 or 3 days, we'll be back to even if SoFi just kind of goes sideways. So not that concerned about it, to be honest with you. I think $12.50 is going to be a psychological level that is very, very hard for SoFi to just blast through. Mark, how are you, my man?
Excellent, TJ. It's been a crazy year. First Palantir, now SoFi. 3 years from bag holding to brag holding.
I'm telling you, baby, and that's how it goes sometimes. But you got to stick with it. You got to stick with it. If you're gonna graduate from bag holder to brag holder, you're gonna have to stick with it. So walk me through the journey. Like, where was it? Let's start with SoFi. Where was SoFi when you first got involved with it, and how has it been emotionally to hold on to that position, knowing that there was other opportunities out there, but for whatever reasons you chose to stick with it, if you will?
I got involved when it first, right before it first IPO'd. So I was following it at IPO'd, got on board, rode the roller coaster up and then down. Fortunately, I was just nibbling, and then just slowly tracked it, started buying in. It would kind of roller coaster up and then down, roller coaster up and then down. And then year ago, May is, First Republic New York went under and SoFi crashed. And I just sat there going, this is worth $7. It was like $4.75. So, I did due diligence. I, head first in. That's how I found you on Finance Junkie. I just started buying in, and then it rode up last summer, up and down. And I thought everything was going well. And then last January, it just crashed. And, it was the cost of conviction was like, okay, I've made the right decision. I'm ahead of the market. That's the price I pay. But I took the time to buy more leads, buy more shares, load up. And now instead of being 25% up, I'm 50% up, I'm 75% up. And now the decision is, do I hold off a week and sell more calls, or do I just, do it today? So that's what I'm dealing with now. I'm underwater at about 5,000 shares, so I'll slowly climb my way out the next 3 or 4 years. Hopefully, if not, I'm in it for 10, or until Noto grows his towel and rides off into the billion-dollar sunset that he deserves.
So you have covered calls that are underwater right now? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have 11,000 covered calls, and 11,000 shares, and so
Uh-huh.
yeah, so about 48 covered calls, or 4,800 shares are underwater.
What strike price?
I have a strike price is about 825, and I use those covered calls to buy leads and buy shares. So if I cashed out tomorrow, I'd walk away with quite a profit. But I want to hold on till it hits 25.30 and then reassess. And then we've agreed it's all up to Noto. He's the captain of this ship, and if he goes into retirement, that's going to be a big decision. And I'll probably cash out the unencumbered shares, and then cash out the shares that aren't too far underwater, and then let the ones that are way underwater, just let them climb over a couple of years until I decide otherwise. But in the meantime, I'm moving on to my next opportunity. I've got Palantir under control. I've got SoFi under control. They're on autopilot. Now I'm looking for the next 2 or 3 opportunities, and that's where my time is.
Well, that's awesome. I was talking about this to myself, just a little self-talk. And before I enter into a position, I actually already planned the exit. Like, it's part of my investment thesis. Like, this is when I want to enter, and in an ideal world, this is where I want to exit. At least to the point where I'm playing with house money. Because I always want to own shares with other people's money. There's a few different ways to go about doing that, right? Because I'm very conservative in nature. Once I have a win, I want to lock in the win. That's why I was a pretty good poker player, because it wasn't so much that I could outplay a bunch of people, excuse me. It was that once I was up 3 or 4 or 500, I had the discipline to go to the pay window and get paid. So I was a good bankroll manager. I was like, the right opportunity presented itself. It wasn't about beating the man and beating the game. It was about achieving my goal of $300 to $500 a day, so I can go play golf, enjoy my life, work out, etc. Like, I always had this discipline about myself, and that's kind of the way that I treated investing and selling options now. So I started thinking, okay, what happens when Noto achieves the goal of making SoFi a top 10 financial institution? Like, what then? Right? What then? And what does that look like? I mean, shit, I think SoFi would probably be north of $100 a share. Like, we're talking about, I mean, if you look at market cap, like, where's market cap right now? I'll have to look at it. What is SoFi, like a 9-10 billion, maybe, if that? You know what I mean? It hasn't climbed that much, guys. It's a market cap right now is $12 billion. So if you look at for them to become a top 10 financial institution, they probably have to 10x from here, I would think. Like I don't have access to that list. I mean, I'm sure I could find it, top 10 financial institutions by market cap, and then we can see where SoFi would go from there. So it kind of tells you top 10. I'm doing it on Google. Financial.
What we've talked about this is he may not get there. He may have a buyout opportunity where they're like 25, 30. JP Morgan has got money on the table and they're like, we want you. And he may have to sell. So it may not get you $100 a share.
Yeah, maybe, man. It's just we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
But this is what I found. This is what I found on just a Google search. So JP Morgan's number one at 634. Bank of America is number two at 327. ICBC 276. Agricultural Bank of China 226. Wells Fargo. China Construction Bank, Morgan Stanley, Bank of China, Royal Bank of Canada, and HSBC is 167. So we're talking about a more like a 14x from here. You know what I mean? A 15x from here. So that
would be nice.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, so I just think that we're like super, super early because they've already told you what the goal is. They told you what the goal is. So now it's just whether or not you believe they're on the map. So first of all, you got to look whether or not the map is real and there's a destination. And then you got to figure out, okay, what's the best way to get there, right? It's no different than navigating, on your car, right? You look at the map or whatever. Google helps you out. Google Maps, Apple, whoever it is. Whatever you choose to, Waves or Wave, whatever the other one's called, Waze, something like that. And then you get there. Right? You take the path that makes the most sense for you and you get there. So I think you got to ask yourself, is SoFi on that yellow brick road or not? Right? Are they on that yellow brick road or not? Based on everything that I've seen, Mark, I think they kind of are. I think that now I don't know that they're on an A to B, like the fastest point from A to B is a straight line. I don't think it looks like that. I think it's going to zig and zag and bob and weave, but they'll meander their way through there. I think they'll get there. So there's nothing that they've done that leads me not to believe that they're not going to achieve that. And even if they fall short, what if it's top 20 and not top 10, right? So what if it's top 20? What does that look like? 97 billion? That's still an 8x. 12 times 6, 96. Is anybody going to be angry about that? You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting. It's interesting. So I'm hoping that this becomes a staple because if they graduate into like dividends and all this stuff, I mean, I think that because I was dealing with speculative investments for so long, and then now it turns into like something legit that has legs. I think I've had to like graduate my mind a little bit in how I look at this investment now. Because I had a target to exit at like $25, 40 on the absolute high end. And I was just going to be done and go look for the next SoFi because that's the arena that I like to play in. Like I get excited about the story. It's almost like I get excited about these kids when they're toddlers and they graduate to teenagers. So, you kind of look at the lifespan of people, right? And I look at a company kind of like that in that lifespan, like where is it? I think that SoFi is like a little infant / toddler that learn how to walk already, but they're like stumbling all over the damn place. They can't like sprint or anything yet. But that's where they're at. I think that that's where SoFi is if you want to do a correlation there, an analogy with the human being's life cycle, I think that that's where SoFi is. So they have so much room, dude. We don't know how they're going to do in school. We don't know how they're going to perform in their teenage years. We don't know what college they're going to go to. We don't know what career path they're going to choose. I mean, these are all the uncertainties of a human being in their development, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of the kind of shit y'all are going to get on wheelers, right? How do you land on the stocks? That's going to be the big thing. The hardest thing in this business is to land on the stock. And then you got to formulate this investment thesis. And then it's like, can you manufacture the win? Because there's a lot of stocks that I want to be in. The only reason that I'm not is because I couldn't figure out how to formulate a strategy to manufacture the win aside from buy, hold, and hope, because that's not my strategy. So some investments just don't make sense for me. You know what I mean? So SoFi was good premiums, good growth potential, a long-term story in place. I think that they had the right pilot at the helm, right? All that stuff, the right quarterback at the helm, whatever. And I'm super, super excited. But how do you feel? Like, where do you think they're at in their little life cycle?
They just graduated from sophomore year to junior year in high school.
You think they're that far along, huh?
Yeah, and it's the next couple years where it's consistency, and then the SPY 500. Then all of a sudden they're in college. They're freshmen in college, and that's the make or break, because now all eyes are on them. They've got all the attention. They got the girls showing up at their dorm room, and it's like, okay, do they work out? Are they disciplined? Or are they out drinking? Are they full of themselves? And then, when they're in the top 20, that's when they're in the big league, because that's the league. That's where they're at, and I like it. But for me, I'm using those puts and calls to turn those leaps into shares, and then it's going to start funding my next couple of plays. And that's my strategy right now. And right now it's just kind of dipping my toe to find those plays.
Awesome.
And it's finally validation, because you see the QQQ, you see the SPY, every day is up. And my stock, SoFi was stagnant. It was frustrating, but it was like, no, I'm in it to win it. And then it goes, in the space of a month, it goes from 678 to 9, and then 9 to 11, back down. Same old SoFi. Now it's up. I'm sure it'll drift down, back down to 10 or 9, but that'll be fine. That will help me, take the pressure off my my underwater calls. And I'm in it for the long run. I'm in it for the next couple graduations.
So I think SoFi is more in their life cycle of a trust fund baby. They inherited a bank, right? Because they didn't really do it all organically. They bought a bank. They merged. They did something creative to get their bank charter. So that's the equivalent of being a trust fund baby, and a shitload of stuff gets handed to you. And now you got to figure out how to really make it work, right? So I think they're kind of like in that area. They're more like that trust fund baby, maybe junior high school at the most.
Yeah.
They got a lot of figuring out to do. They got big ideas. They got access to all the technology. So they're wise beyond their years, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like it's that trust baby that has that successful uncle, and the parents died, and the successful uncle is helping them with navigating the situation until little junior's ready to take the ball and run on his own, that kind of thing. Yeah. So that's kind of where SoFi is. But I was talking to Bill White earlier before the stream, and I think that SoFi is creating a category all by itself. because they are growing much faster than most banks, probably all banks, with the charter. They have some aspects of their business that have very, very high margins, right? Like the service business, the Galileo business, once that sales cycle gets figured out, because I think that's the issue with Galileo is the sales cycle and the reluctance of big institutions to want to revamp their entire infrastructure because it's a little painful for them, I assume. Uh, so once they figure out all of those things, then we're really going to be able to justify putting a crazy multiple on them. But that being said, if they're a hybrid bank, they don't have all of the overhead that traditional brick and mortar banks have. They have to be rewarded for that as well. In my opinion, they need to be rewarded for just being a very, very high quality financial institution as far as the way that they go about doing business. They turn around probably 70 to 80% of the loan applications, and now they're underwriting loans for like Fortress and whatnot. That's a very, very high profitable business. That's a highly profitable business segment. So I think it's a lot like Tesla, right? Like Tesla sells cars because 70, 80% of their revenue comes from selling cars. But then you start looking at the other things that Tesla does, and those are like very high level things. They're just small when you consider the entire pie of Tesla. But hell, they have their energy sector that's bigger than SoFi or in phase altogether. You know what I'm saying? But it's like Tesla doesn't really get a lot of credit for it because the other aspects of the business are so much bigger. So I think that SoFi, what really excites me is they have a lot of balance. They have different levers to pull now because at first it was just student loans, right?
Yep.
And the pandemic happened, Joe Biden happened, nobody has to pay for school anymore and that kind of shit, right? So essentially, SoFi was forced to pivot a few times if they wanted to stay in business.
Well, for me, the story that got me was I always saw that they were going to pivot. It was going to be a slow pivot because that's why you get the college kids, you get the student loans. In my business classes, you were taught it's the 16 to 24-year-old. You get them on board, you got 90% of them for the rest of their lives. And I saw that, like, okay, they're going to pivot out of it, but COVID just forced them to do it earlier than they wanted to or thought they had to. And now the weak link in their chain is tech. It's a fintech. They got the financial down. It's a bank. People, oh, it's only a bank. It's like, well, it's a damn good bank. And then regardless, when they get the tech down, then they'll really take off. But for right now, I'm willing to hold, and it does dishearten me when the CTO is selling his shares as fast as he can, and Noto, on the earnings call is kind of not hopeful that they'll get the tech sooner or later. I mean, yeah, he was more hopeful than confident that they get the tech sooner than later. You know what I mean? But yeah, they're only a bank, but they're a damn good bank, and that's why I'm in it. Because where do you go for money? Where do you go to the ATM? The bank, and they're going to fund my growth in my account. And because of SoFi, in the last year I've doubled my account. At this time last year, I had just under 50%, and I think that's a good accomplishment. So that beats the SPY.
So I want to correct you a little bit. You said because of SoFi, you've been able to double your account, right?
Yeah.
It's because of your conviction that you were able to double your account. Because there's a lot of fucking people in this chat that have been in SoFi at some point in time, and they haven't doubled their account with SoFi. So it's how you chose to ride that horse is the reason that you have earned that double in your account. So don't discount yourself. You need to give yourself credit on that.
Good point.
There's a lot of fucking people that have been in stock, bro. I was in Apple a long time ago. made money. Didn't make the kind of money I could have made if I'd have just done nothing. Just, like Carlos, from Finance Junkies, one of his come ups was buying Apple early and forgetting that he even had the shares. He gets with this old lady, and they're like, he's like, I think I got money over here in Apple or something. Let me check. And it's like a couple $100,000 or something crazy. Because he just literally just forgot about it, and then Apple went to go do Apple things. So it just depends on what it is that you're trying to do, right? Like, I'm a very active investor because this is what I do for a living. But if I was still working in the oil field, I wasn't doing any of this stuff. I was just putting money into the 401k and that kind of thing. And oftentimes that's why 401k, there's so many 401k millionaires, because they're out there doing life and living life, Mark. And then by accident, they become millionaires in 20, 30, 40 years playing that game, depending on how much money they're willing to put in every check, right?
Yep.
So that's, like, to me, the easiest way to do it is find a handful of companies early, like SoFi, and ride with them. Or even if you're kind of late, like Amazon and Tesla, but you think that their next 3 to 5 to 10 years can still be good, then those are easier investments because they have a proven track record. What was difficult about SoFi for us is they didn't have a proven track record. That's why a lot of people like the Mag 7, because there's a proven track record there, right? So it's like, oh, well, past results aren't indicative of future results, but for some of these companies, it's kind of predictable. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty predictable that NVIDIA is going to keep crushing for the next 24 to 36 months. The writing's on the walls. All these big companies said, hey, they're the only game in town, essentially. So we're going to have to keep giving them billions of dollars. And we're happy to do it because they help us to be better, right?
Yep.
So there's an interdependence there that really works for everybody, and investors too, because they like that level of predictability. So how are you at with Palantir? Talk to me about Palantir, because I'm pretty good on 19,000 shares. On the 5,000 shares at $12, I still have to call Bill White. He says there's a way to fix it. He just hasn't told me how much it's going to cost me.
I'm good at Palantir. I would have liked about 3 times as many shares as I have, but it just got away from me as far as, I thought it would take a while. I wasn't investing in it. I'm underwater for most of my shares, but I'm not worried about it. I'm underwater in the 20s. So I'll start rolling this end of the year, and I'm in it for 10 or 15 years till it hits 300 or 400. So I'll catch up, and then along the way, if a pocket opens up, I can pick up another 100 or 200 shares. I'll be happy to do it, even if it's at $50, $60, $80. It just depends on what the opportunity provides in the company and the market. So,
I hear you.
Yeah, I love the company. I believe in it. It's just it's over its valuation, and at some point valuations matter, or maybe it's one of those stocks where it doesn't. Every good news will set it up, send it up, send it up, so it reaches $200 or $300 a share, and then at that point, enough people will cash out that it'll hit back to earth. I'm glad I'm a part of it, and it's another one. 3 years of bag holding to bag holding, to brag holding. Choose it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Palantir. I do feel like unless their earnings are absolutely phenomenal and the guidance is phenomenal, I'm not saying that they're going to pull back, but I can totally justify in my mind some sideways action for 3 months or so, just to kind of get their bearings. And that's healthy for the stock. Some consolidation, even a slight pullback would be very healthy for the stock itself. But dude, they just keep getting bigger and deeper with the relationships that they have. And the one thing that really attracted me to Palantir from the very beginning was they have a very sticky business model. Because once they help the company win and see that they can run a lot more efficiently, a lot more proficient, and be profitable, a lot more profitable because of the money they're paying Palantir, well, I feel like they kind of got a customer for life there.
Well, they're giving it to them for free, and you can't compete with free. And
Well, initially the test drive, but I'm talking about if you look at the customers that they have, it's like year over year, the customer pays them more money because it's kind of like Salesforce. I don't know if you're familiar with Salesforce, but I used to be a customer of Salesforce with my home security business. And the program was like $10,000 initially to get all the software installed and on all the computers. And then you pay for like a certain amount of hours, and they have like somebody kind of like be your own personal Siri type thing. And then during that time, you need to train somebody from your staff to kind of like be their liaison, if you will. There's like a package for that. And then before you know it, I was paying Salesforce between $10,000 and $20,000 a year for my small home security business. And I was glad to do it because I hated Salesforce. It's like trying to use Robinhood Legend. I don't like it because it's intimidating to me. I like simplicity. But my goodness, dude, all of the metrics that we had on our customers, like where the sensors were, how they were wired, whether they were hardwired, where the drops were. Like, dude, we had so much data on each of these customers' houses that if one of the sensors wasn't working, we knew exactly where the issue was going to be. So it made us very efficient, and we're able to send birthday cards, all this shit, because we had all their data, right? To CRM, right? That's why their ticker CRM, customer relations manager. And I feel like Palantir is that, but like on steroids. Because they're essentially like data analytics, and they're like, well, you're squandering all this money over here. If you just do this, do that, X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, you're going to make a lot of money over there by saving it. And then from there, you're going to be able to pay us, and justifiably so. And once they get people to see that, once they get businesses to see that, it's a no-brainer to have Palantir on their payroll.
Well, that's why giving it for free, you didn't need a sales force. It's like, here it's free. If we're wrong, we're wrong. If we're right, we're right. And most of the people, I follow them, and most went to the next level. And, then I kind of didn't like Alex Karp like 6-8 months ago, complaining how his sales force sucked. It's like, well, you didn't have one. You didn't need one because your model, now that you want to expand, I've worked for people and everything. And, I didn't think it was a good thing, but we'll see how it projects. But you can't compete with free because the competition was like, it'll improve it 10 times. It's like, okay, well, let me try that, and I'll get back to you. And, the competition is like, no, you got to pay us. So I get a money back guarantee. You get a negotiation, whereas Karp was like, no, just take it. And they're like, okay, and they're like, wow, you're right. So.
I hear you, man. I hear you. So, anywho, man, I'm trying to see if I can show y'all everything that I did on RIOT yesterday. RIOT has earnings today, right?
Yep.
And I closed out a lot of stuff, and I'm kind of hoping for a pullback because I want to get to 150,000 shares. So that's kind of the idea behind all that stuff that I did. So you're familiar with the Bitcoin miner a little bit, right?
Yeah, I follow you. So I followed your journey over the last year and a half.
So essentially what's going on with RIOT is I closed out all the cash secured puts yesterday. I closed out.
Okay, I found this on the web for what's going on.
Shit, fucking Siri. Bitch, stop listening to me. So anyway, fucking phones, bro. There's like such an invasion of privacy, right? If you think about it. Anyway, you can't talk about anything, and then like the next ad that shows up is going to be exactly what you were talking about. It's the craziest thing. I'm sure there's settings and crap that you could turn off, but I don't know how to do that. Anyway, so I closed out all the Riot cash and puts that were expiring at $9, at $7, at $10, and even the 5 in the distance, and realized a lot of money. Like realized a lot of gains, like north of maybe $75,000 in realized profits on Riot, because I wanted to be in a position to buy the dip if we get somewhere in the nines after an earnings. Maybe they announce, oh, we might have to tap into a shelf offering or something. I don't know. I'm kind of hopeful. So that's what's going on with Riot. I've got the 107,300 shares, and they're all for sale at 10. I no longer have any open cash secured puts. I'm hoping on a dip I could just buy the shares and put the cover calls on immediately. And then if there's a more substantial dip, then I'll load up on another $500,000 worth via cash secured puts, and just keep doing that over and over and over. Very bullish on the company. Went over to Irvine last week. And then on the 20th, I think, I got to look at the email that Jason sent me, Jason and Phil. Here it is. Yeah, so it's looking like November the 20th is the day for the tour. So my wife and I are going to go tour the facilities on November the 20th. They're going to organize transportation. So we're going to stay in downtown Dallas somewhere. And then we're going to ride with them to the facilities at like 8 in the morning. And then we'll be back by like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm hoping to be able to go live over there. Maybe even, hopefully I can snag Jason for like 10, 15 minutes and do an interview with him. Just to
You're going to have your Batman costume on?
Huh?
You're going to have your Batman costume on?
It's more like Batman. Did I gain 2 pounds? But, you just got to keep eating and lifting weights, and then I'm not doing as much cardio. And then my diet's
Weren't you on Ozempic or something? You were taking something, or did you get off that?
No, I haven't taken it in 10 days. So I started eating again. I was supposed to take it 2 days ago. But I was feeling kind of nauseous. I didn't want to, but I have it there. My wife wants me to take it because I have a suit that I need to wear for a wedding. I just bought the suit at Dillard's. I actually got to go get, they're going to go like, I don't know, nip and tuck it, whatever they do. Because I just bought it off they ordered it from a different store. So it came in, and now I got to take it in, and they'll try it on me and start cutting and shit to my size. So my wife wants me to lose like 5 pounds. That way they'll do it, and then I'll go, and hopefully it'll fit real loose, and then they'll do it again a little closer to the wedding. I think the wedding's on the 16th of November. So we'll see. But anyway, my wife's yelling at the dog. Gavin! But super bullish on the company. I think they're working on some big things, man. I'm hoping they announce them on earnings today, that maybe they're in talks with a company that might be interested in their infrastructure or something like that. And that could get really, really fun. And then I'll just babysit these cover calls for the next 3 to 5 years. Or if it gets real crazy, I'll just buy to close the cover calls at a massive loss and, let the shares ride up on that news. Because if they get the right kind of news, it's the kind of shit that they could double like overnight.
Well, good luck.
Everybody's real hot over this HPC AI thing, this high computer shit, some computing power crap that it's like the new thing, It's like you have all these computers, and apparently they could do more than just mine Bitcoin or whatever. So it's interesting stuff, man. I'm real. You know how Mitt's kind of like done the deep dive on Palantir,
Yeah.
and you have all the geeks that have done deep dives on SoFi. So I thank you, Jared. Thank you. Just that damn acronym never sticks, bro. High performance computing, AI. So I decided that RIOT's gonna be that stock for me, that I just learn everything that I can about it. And they happen to be in close proximity. So where else am I gonna be able to go visit everything? And now, Jason Les, the CEO, will return my emails and stuff like that. So like, since I have a little bit of access, I'm like, dude, I want to dig into this fucking thing and really see how much I can learn about this company. I don't know that it's going to help me make any more money, because I'm going to play I'm going to do what I do anyway with my strategy. But it's just, I wanted to take the company that I was most interested in, because I'm very intrigued by the Bitcoin space. There's only so much research you're going to get me to do on a fucking bank. I'm sorry, Mark. I'm not going to do it. I was just like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not that interested. It's not that exciting. But like, we're talking about like the new money and Bitcoin and all this other shit. That's very intriguing. And then like seeing exactly how these contracts are structured with RIOT and ERCOT and all this. Like, dude, I just really want to get into the weeds because I'm interested. Because
and that was the frustration. When Palantir was $7-8, SoFi was $6. It's like I stopped tuning in to the daily shows about it because it was just conviction. I couldn't hear anymore. My conviction was I just got to hold on and just listening to Tanner or Amit. Yeah, I like them. I like what they had to say, but it's like I'm converted. Why am I still in church? My job is to go out and do my tithing and make a good life. So,
yeah.
But I hear you, and I'm glad, and that's what the market's all about. I try to tell people who, they're like, how much money you make? And, it's like, it's not my day job. It's my side hustle, which is the market. Yeah. And as you said, that itself becomes a full-time job, the research and the follow-up. And it breaks my heart because I have friends a year ago. I was like, hey, I was trying to get them into it, and they never got into it. And a year later, their father's worried about, them having to sell their furniture.
Right.
And so.
Yeah, so we're going to be there on the 20th, man. If anybody is in the area, I'm not saying that I'll be able to get y'all to go on the tour or anything like that. I don't have that kind of pull. I can always ask.
Yeah.
And I'm saying if y'all want to hang out, but if y'all want to hang out after, we're getting there the day before. And it's gonna be downtown Dallas. I don't know the hotels and all that stuff. And then I'm also, I'm with my wife, right? So I'm not gonna like, hey, we're at the fucking there's one we stay there all the time called the Crescent Court. It's like uptown Dallas, real fancy hotel. And be like, yeah, we're in suite, whatever. We're not gonna do all that. But I'm saying like we are comfortable enough, and we know that God always has our back as our armor. So I don't worry about my safety and all that stuff like that. Because I'm just a regular guy at the end of the day. But I'm more than willing to meet up for lunch or dinner or whatever the day before, because afterwards, like our flight leaves at 7, right? So we're going to be back from the RIOT tour at 1. So there's a little window there for like a late lunch as well too. I wouldn't mind treating a couple, 2 or 3 people in the area, and share what I've learned. Right, share what I've learned. I'm pretty sure it's going to be impressive, bro. I'm pretty sure it's going to be like hella impressive, because I'm going to be able to see it from a different perspective. And Jason's going to be on the tour with us. So I'm going to be able to see it from his vantage point. And then my wife can't bullshit her, bro. So she'll be looking around too. And then the whole time I'm there, I'm going to be thinking, how can I own one of these rows of computers that I can mine my own fucking Bitcoin here? Wouldn't that be cool, dude? It's like, dude, okay, cool. The shares are cool. What do we got to do to own like 1,000 of those computers? How much Bitcoin can that shit make you, dude? My goodness. Like, I wonder
Well,
if
you
they
got
have type of pool, if there's any type of pool that you could buy into. Because this guy Chad that used to work at Riot, he was always in my DMs, dude, like on my personal cell phone. And he don't work there anymore. And he was always talking about that kind of stuff. Like there's pools that you could buy into. Not necessarily with Riot, but with other companies. And you essentially own you own a little part of the mining somehow, like the mining rewards, and then you get rewarded like these bitcoins and shit. So I mean that'd be real cool. Like, invest a few $100,000 and then you look up a year later, you got 10, 15, 20 bitcoin out of it. Because I mean that's what Riot does, right? They're essentially getting paid to create Bitcoin out of thin air. They get rewarded Bitcoin, and then now Bitcoin goes up, well then they're crushing it. It's just something I've always been interested. They're saying that buying pools is a scam and all that stuff. I don't know. I mean, again, this is just stuff that I'm interested in. I'm not saying that we would do it, but there's a lot that goes into having one of these buildings, bro, and like having it like really function at those levels, and the energy, the contracts, getting a hold of your computers, the engineers, everything to put it together. I just think people really need to appreciate how hard it is to do what these businesses are doing. It's difficult. It's just very intriguing to me. So I just want to learn like how they are able to do it at that scale, and then you just kind of get ideas what happens after this, right? Because they have the Rockdale facility that, for the most part, it's done. They're just tweaking it, right, to try to get it to run more efficiently. And then they've got Corsicana that's probably not even 25% done. But they've learned so much from the first facility that the second one is going a lot better, right? Because the more often you do something, the better you get, right, Mark?
Yep.
So I'm very, very intrigued to just learn about it. I want to nerd out a little bit. I want to really understand like what this exahash and terahash and joules and all this other shit, like how those components really work. Because I understand basic concepts. Like sometimes it's just harder to get the rewards because the competition's very fierce or whatever. And so just like where do I go look for that stuff? Like where can I go find it? Because I see like Sebastian going like blockchain.com, and he goes and he sees little shit and he's able to put his spreadsheets together and all that. And it's just I just want to nerd out. I want to get familiar with the space. I want to start going to like blockchain conferences and all that shit because I don't know that Bitcoin's the thing, but I think it's at least going to lead to the thing because I think that there's a new sheriff in town. I just don't know who that new sheriff is as far as the way that money's going to be done.
Well, to me, the hurdle to Bitcoin is free power. So you got to set up a hydro dam in your backyard, or a windmill, or solar panels, because they basically put that cost, and then when they're not mining, they're selling it, and they're amortizing it. So that's what if you want to do it, where's your power going to come from?
Yeah. So I'm looking to start a Riot Weekly. Because there's like 3 or 4 channels that do this kind of shit already, like McNally Money, and there's a guy named Powers, Anthony Powers, I think, is an older gentleman that's very, very knowledgeable. So they talk about like a lot of these companies. I just want to learn about this one. You know what I'm saying? Because I've already played that game. Yeah, we got 1,000 Secure puts on CleanSpark. I'm just not interested in the company though. And I can't go visit. I can't touch it. I can't, you know what I'm saying? I can't really get into the weeds, where over here, from a proximity perspective, it's easy for me.
Well, not only that, if you do Riot Weekly, the other shows, you can show how you're trading it. It's like, okay, it's down Bitcoin, for the next 6 months. My hand is in the cookie jar. and this is what I'm learning. This is my conviction. This is how I'm adjusting. So I think it'll do well because the other shows, they just tell you all about it. They're just an aggregate for the news and rumor. And that's always
My,
frustrated me.
and my thing with the Riot Weekly that I want to start, Mark, is this is all I've learned about Riot, and this is how I make money with it.
Yeah,
Because that's the component that SoFi Weekly can't give you, because none of those guys know how to make money off of SoFi the way that I do.
exactly.
That's the reality. That's just the fucking reality.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, cool. Let's learn everything about this horse, and then I'm gonna show y'all how I ride this horse to try to maximize the amount of money. So I use this data along with the charts and everything else to help me like formulate the investment thesis, the entries, the exits, all that shit. So I'm just saying, like, those are the parts that are missing from Palantir Weeklies and SoFi Weeklies and everything else, because none of those guys know how to make money the way that I do.
Well, the name of the segment.
My Rocket Lab Weekly, fucking Matt Money knows how to make money, right? So that's the one exclusion. And then Vince has done very, very well with Rocket Lab. But I want that to be a big component of the show, is why I'm choosing these options, why I'm selling cash secured puts here, why I'm selling covered calls. If there's ever an opportunity to buy leaps, it's very hard to buy so on the minors because IV is so high. So it's it just feels like you're like legit gambling. You're not being the casino there at all. So it's just kind of like talking them through the strategies, like at more length, if you will. But then understanding like the meat and potatoes of the company, and also the reason I'm choosing Riot is because I feel like there's nothing that can really happen. This company's not going to go out of business in 3 to 5 to 10 years because they're so stable financially. So I don't want to dig into a fucking company that might not be here in a year or two. In some capacity, I'm convinced Riot's going to be here. Whether they pivot to HPC and all that, that's above my pay grade. You know what I mean? I don't know. I know that I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to play it accordingly. So anyway, so there's that. There's on Riot Weekly. The last thing I wanted to talk about, guys, because I got to get going because I've got a call to make, is I got the my FaceTime call to make, is started a new backstop trade, Mark.
Cool.
You familiar with backstop trades? You might have heard me say it at timer 100 on the channel.
Yeah, we've talked about it. It's the leap, selling those leaps.
The biggest difference besides it's not just the leaps, it's an oversized position. And the reason I call it a backstop trade is because it's like a baseball analogy where you're going to like throw the pitch as fast as you can. So the catcher might miss it because it's coming real fast. It might have bad action on it. You may be kind of a wild pitch because you're trying to overthrow. So you have the backstop there to kind of like help you out. So that's just the where I came up with the idea, and I wanted something that was catchy for me to remember. So it's a very, very oversized position. It's not recommended. All of your gurus are going to say, oh my God, that's part management and all this other bullshit. And that's why they're them and I'm me, right? So this is the trade that's putting me on the map in my mind. Like I want this lingo to become so popular that other people start using backstop trade in their terminology. So essentially, I landed on TSLL because Tesla is my favorite company in the stock markets. I wanted to play the derivatives on TSLL. I put the chart side by side for a year. Bro, even after you back out NAV erosion and the dividend, I feel like you lose maybe like 5 to 7%, if that, throw there. The premiums are so damn juicy. I'd rather this is much cheaper than having to tie up so much money on Tesla. So this is, to me, is just the poor man's way of playing Tesla, but you can get the oversized returns. And I'm all
Don't they give out dividend or something? I've heard some of those plays give out dividend.
Yeah, these guys pay dividend. Yes.
I
So
would
anyway,
love.
so
I know you got to go. I got to go too. I would just love one time pre-plan to get on the show and spend an hour just talking about those kind of plays. The pros and cons, because I've heard you talk about them. I just the conviction to get in there because of that nav erosion. It's I mean the juice obviously is worth the squeeze if you know how to squeeze it. I just don't know and don't feel comfortable right now. Buying those oranges, so to speak.
yeah, no, I hear you, man, and that's the thing. So there's three C's, right? There's three or four C's for investing. You need courage, you need conviction, and you need capital. And then there's also the cost, right? So it all has to match up for you. So not every investment is for everybody. It's just, invest in what you understand. There's like so many cliches out there. But my thing is just invest in what makes sense to you and makes sense for you. This one makes a lot of sense for me. I don't fully understand all the details. Again, if this was TSLO Weekly, this is what I could tell you. I know how to make money off of this ticker. You interested? Because at the end of the day, you
Yeah.
got to make money off these tickers, and people don't talk about it enough because I don't think they know how to do that. Oh, I was just going to buy the shares. That's cool. That's a strategy. That is a very legitimate strategy that works. It's been proven to work over time. So anyway, so this is how's this for a little backstop trademark? I know you got to run. I have 2,500 cash secured puts for 1/16/2026 and picked up about 335, 35, $336,400 in premium.
Nice.
So tied up $573, 2,500 times over. So 1.435 million to pick up 336 grand or so. And they're all the trades are right here. This is the shit that you'll only find on this channel. So it all started here. So I've been messing with this thing for a hot minute. So in September the 26th, sold 200 of them, got 30 grand. On October the 11th, got 35.6. On October the 11th, got another 17.5. So that already puts us at 500 contracts. And yesterday, 200 contracts, 100 contracts, 200 contracts, 200, 200, 100, 200, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200. So that's how it all happened. Another 200. So I am going to rock with TSLL. So that's where all the RIOT cash secured put money went. That's where a lot of these cash secured puts that you don't see anymore. I even closed out some 350s and $3 open door cash secured puts at losses because I wanted to move the money over, and I'm looking for any type of reasonable tax harvest loss because the taxes are going to be very, very steep this year. And I already had plenty of exposure to open door anyway. I closed out BITX. I closed out SOXL as far as cash secured puts, a FUBO cash secured put. So I'm really, really cleaning up the portfolio. I want to have like 10 positions less open. 10 less positions open. That way it's just so much easier to navigate. It's a lot cleaner. And that's what I'm rocking with. So the entire TSO position is now 15,000 shares at 936. They're all for sale at 15. You'll see that the 1.432 in cash collateral, and that's the backstop trade there. And I also have leaps to buy an additional 10,000 shares at 573 in January that I fully intend to exercise, because then that'll be lowering our cost basis over here. We'll be up to 25,000 shares. And that's probably about the maximum amount of shares that I would like to own, because it is an eroding asset because of NAV erosion, but because the premiums are so high, and the fact that it does pay a little bit of a dividend, it's also pretty easy for me to justify owning those shares at these levels. I would be comfortable owning these shares over $10. That's just me. In fact, I prefer to own them around the $8 range, but it is what it is. That's the market that we're in. So that's the big backstop trade. So everything is going to be based on that. And that potentially that position could turn into another 2,500 cash secure puts, but maybe at 673 and maybe at 773. And that's the max. And then if they all work out, fantastic. If not, well, I'll be rolling them down to 673 and eventually 573. At 573, put all the portfolio in TSOL at 573, and I will make a very handsome living just selling cover calls. And that is what a backstop trade is. For me, it's like, if I need to put everything in there, am I comfortable with this big backstop? I'm totally comfortable. I can find the ball. You know what I mean? It's not going to go out into the stands. It's not going to go into the woods. You ever play catch with a kid and it's shit's going all over? Isn't it cool to have a backstop? So I'm like, I want to know where my ball is. What's the ball? The cash. I got the backstop. That's where all the money's at. And I know that it's yielding 25% or so a year. If I close it out early, you know, if I look up and I'm like 60, 70%, and there's still 9 months left on the contract to close the shit out, I go find something else. Or I'm like, okay, well, maybe I got to increase these strike prices to 673 and kind of play that game, but I'm not comfortable doing them higher than 773. So I'm giving y'all the whole playbook there. This kind of shit you're going to get on Wheelers this Saturday. I got to run. Mark, appreciate you, my man.
Thank you, buddy. Love you.
Appreciate
Talk to you later.
Take care, brother. This is TJ, the Wheel Deal, signing off with Mark Cares. As always, may your sky stay blue. Stock Stream. Peace out. God bless you guys. Hey, guys, those of y'all that are the $10 members and above, schedule those FaceTimes. The schedule is really, really light for the next week or two, man. So the gym is open. Schedule those FaceTimes. Peace out. God bless you guys.